still watching Network Africa. The Senate in Nigeria has rejected President Muhammadu Buhari's external borrowing plan of $30 billion for the execution of projects from 2016 to 2018. The upper legislative chamber unanimously rejected President Muhammadu Buhari's plan when it was put to a vote on the floor of the chamber today. Before today's vote by the Senate, the president had written to the National Assembly asking them to approve a foreign loan of $29.960 billion to address infrastructure deficit in the country. The presidency had explained that the amount, which is under the government's external borrowing plan, was to be spent on power, railway, roads, education, health, water resources, and others. The request was sent via a letter to the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara. The Joint Committee of the National Assembly on Land Transport has reaffirmed its support for President Buhari's determination to revamp the nation's land transportation sector. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Land Transport, Senator Gbenga Shafa, who led the members of the committee to the Ministry of Transportation, says Nigerians will begin to see the benefits of the desired change being championed by the federal government.
Officials of the Ministry of Transport and members of the Joint Committee of the National Assembly on Land Transport during an oversight visit of the lawmakers to the ministry. The Ministry of Transportation lists the achievement of the ministry under President Buhari's administration.
It is gladdening to note that government had completed the Abuja-Kaduna railway line, of which commercial operations was flagged off by the President on the 26th of July this year, which I'm sure you will visit in the course of this oversight. We are close to the commencement of the Lagos-Ibadan segment of the Lagos-Kano Railway Modernization Project. The line in Lagos will also extend to the Apapa port from Ebute Metta.
Having criticized the Ministry of Transportation for failing to send an advance information on its budget performance, the chairman of the committee restated the commitment of the National Assembly to support the executive effort to revamp the sector.
Let me assure you that on our part in the legislative arm, we will not relent in our efforts at providing the requisite legislative support to the executive in its drive to create change in the Nigerian transport landscape. We believe that with the Senate's passage of the 2016 Railway Bill, more avenues have been opened up in the rail transport sector for foreign direct investment into the country.
After meeting behind closed doors, members of the committee moved to the railway station at Idu for an on-the-spot assessment of the train station for the Abuja-Kaduna Railway.
A special panel of the Court of Appeal hearing the Ondo election appeal have disqualified themselves following allegations of bribery leveled against the panel by the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Ondo State, Mr. B. Poroye. Chairman of the panel, Justice Hannatu Sankey, says all files connected to the Ondo State governorship appeal will be returned to the President of the Court of Appeal for reassignment. The panel withdrew the case following a petition by one of the respondents in the cases, Mr. B. Poroye, who had obtained the orders of the Federal High Court in Abuja, recognizing Jimoh Ibrahim as the candidate of the party in Ondo State. The petitioner leveled several allegations of compromise and likelihood of bias against Justice Sankey, other members of the panel, and Justice Bukuchua. He claims that the panel was constituted to urgently hear and determine the cases because the President of the Court of Appeal had been compromised. He also alleged that all the members of the panel had been compromised to deliver judgment in favor of Mr. Eyitayo Jegede. Mr. Jegede will now have to wait for a new panel to be constituted to enable him to prosecute his appeals against the orders made against him by Justice Okon Abang of the Federal High Court. We're out of Nigeria now. Sub-Saharan Africa should consider increasing taxes and removing subsidies to improve economic growth. That's according to the director of the IMF's African Department, Abebe Selassie. He says Africa's economy is experiencing its weakest growth in nearly 2 decades. 2016 growth was forecast for 3%, but it's now expected to fall to 1.4%, all due to a drop in commodity prices.
African exporters of oil and commodities should remove subsidies and boost taxes to weather the slowest growth in more than 2 decades. This is according to the International Monetary Fund, which cut its 2016 growth forecast for Sub-Saharan Africa by more than half to 1.4% from an initial forecast in May of 3% as economies reel from the impact of the drop in commodity prices. Abebe Selassie, the director of IMF's African Department, said growth could start to recover next year to 3% only if the battered economies carry out fiscal reforms.
You know, the key for us really is, the key risk is really whether or not countries will go ahead and do the required fiscal adjustment. Should they fail to do that, I fear vulnerabilities will heighten and the crisis and the weak economic performance we've seen so far could get even more difficult.
Economies grew more than 5% in the decade, leading to the commodity price drop, but it is now being dragged by 23 resource-dependent nations like Nigeria, South Africa, and Angola. Average growth was 3% last year. Others that are more diversified, like Rwanda and Senegal, will continue to grow at more than 5%. Nigeria, which is in its first recession for more than 20 years, has been seeking to widen its tax base to offset lower revenues caused by the slump in oil prices. Selassie said its low debt would make recovery easier.
That's Network Africa today. Thank you for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani.